The air in Mary Reeser's St. Petersburg apartment on the morning of July 2, 1951, was unusually heavy, but not from the Florida humidity. When her landlady attempted to deliver a telegram, she found the doorknob hot to the touch. Pushing inside with the help of 2 workers, she encountered a scene that would baffle forensic science for decades. In the center of the room sat the remains of an armchair. Most of it was gone, reduced to charred springs and ash. Within that small circle of destruction lay all that was left of 67-year-old Mary, a skull shrunken to the size of a teacup, a piece of a backbone, and a single left foot still encased in a black satin slipper. The rest of the room was eerie in its normalcy. A stack of newspapers nearby was uncharred. The sheets on a bed just a few feet away were white and cool. Aside from a thin layer of soot on the ceiling and some melted candles on a dresser, the fire had stayed confined to Mary's body, consuming bone and marrow with a heat that should have leveled the entire building. This is the central enigma of spontaneous human combustion, or SHC. It is a phenomenon where a living, or very recently deceased, human body ignites without an apparent external source of ignition. Throughout history, hundreds of cases have been documented with terrifyingly similar calling cards. The torso and head are incinerated, while the extremities, like the hands or feet, remain untouched. Mainstream science often points to the wick effect as the most logical explanation. The theory suggests that a person's clothing acts like a candle wick, while their body fat serves as the wax. Once a small external spark, perhaps from a dropped cigarette or a nearby candle, ignites the clothes, the fat begins to melt and seep into the fabric. This creates a slow, localized, and intensely hot fire that can burn for hours. Proponents of the wick effect argue this explains why the fire doesn't spread. It is a low-intensity flame that stays focused on the fuel source. However, skeptics and researchers point to a glaring inconsistency. To cremate a human body to the point where bone turns to fine ash, a furnace must reach temperatures between 1,400 and 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit. If the wick effect were the sole culprit, the sheer radiation of heat over several hours would likely ignite the rest of the room. Yet, in case after case, investigators find plastic items on nearby tables that haven't even warped. In December 2010, the mystery made modern headlines in Galway, Ireland. Michael Faherty, an 84-year-old man, was found dead in his living room. His body was almost entirely consumed by fire. The ceiling above him and the floor beneath him showed heavy scorching, but the rest of his home was undamaged. After a thorough investigation, the coroner, Dr. Kieran McLaughlin, took the unprecedented step of officially listing the cause of death as spontaneous human combustion. He noted that in 25 years of practice, he had never seen anything like it. There was no accelerant found, no sign of foul play, and no evidence that the fire had spread from the fireplace. It was a rare moment where modern medicine bowed to the unexplained. While biology tries to find a chemical answer, many look toward the fringes of physics and the paranormal. One theory involves a hypothetical particle called the pyrotron. Some researchers suggest these subatomic particles could occasionally collide with human cells, triggering a massive internal chain reaction that releases an incredible amount of energy in a split second. Others look at the intersection of the mind and the environment. There is a long-standing belief in some circles that SHC is linked to extreme emotional distress or poltergeist activity. In these narratives, the fire isn't a chemical accident, but a manifestation of internal psychic energy. This concept, known as pyrokinesis, suggests that under rare circumstances, the human brain can trigger an energetic discharge so powerful it ignites the physical vessel. Another chilling possibility involves the Earth's own energy. Some researchers have mapped SHC cases and claimed they align with geomagnetic fluctuations. They suggest that intense magnetic fields might interact with the electrical currents in the human heart or brain, creating a localized short circuit that manifests as fire. Perhaps the most frightening aspect of SHC is the lack of a struggle. In almost every case, there is no evidence that the victim tried to extinguish the flames or call for help. They appear to have been consumed where they sat or slept, as if the fire started so deep and moved so fast that there was no time for a scream. Is it a rare biological fluke, a slow-burning wick of fate, or a gateway to a side of physics we don't yet understand? As long as cases like Mary Reeser's continue to appear, where the fire takes the person but leaves the satin slipper, the phenomenon remains a haunting reminder that we are not yet masters of the elements that make up our own lives. We are, quite literally, fuel and fire, waiting for a spark that science cannot yet name. Don't forget to tune in next week for more spooky tales.